Hi, I'm Asa and I am a Delhi-based architecture photographer. Right now I'll be talking about photography and how it relates to our daily life. So basically, this thing, ever since we know photography, we know that, okay fine, there's a digital camera or there's a film camera, but how it came into being is a different story. We saw cave paintings, then there used to be famous painters during those, a lot of rulers' time and all of that. So that's how the whole photography thing came into being. And to understand photography, because I have almost 5 years of experience in photography, and all this while I have been hearing only criticism about photography, that why you choose a thing like photography. So I believe it is not only a gadget you go take pictures and you are done. So people think you do nothing about it. It's just a gadget that helps you take pictures. It's just not that. I believe it is much more. It helps a child to shape his overall vision, because that is why I take classes with NGOs, those little students, because it gives them a wide scale to think, to visualize things in a creative way, and then develop something of their own. I have a 15 minutes video. I'll not play it right now because I believe we have a short of time.
Start with your PPT.
Alright, okay. So basically I wanted to talk about architecture photography. See, as we all know, we see architecture in our daily lives everywhere. Be it normal gardens or parks we have in our societies, the institutes we go to, the factories, the offices, and everywhere. And how they have any relation to photography apart from just being a building. An old architecture. When we talk about shooting an old architecture, I believe we should let the property be and not play much about its surroundings. We should show the detail of the property, whether it has little carving or the area they have allocated for the press or for hammams or anything that sorts. Then about the modern architecture, we can very well play with the modern architecture. We can maybe show the details, maybe we can...
Sorry to interrupt you, do you have anything which is related to journalism in photography right now? Photojournalism or some kind of thing? Or some technical part of photography?
I have lensing with me right now, because I collected few examples so that student, after talking about the lenses we use in camera.
Okay, go with the lens.
With the lensing. Okay. Okay, so we have camera lenses. As we all know, there's a lot different types of camera lenses, which is fixed frame, zoom lens, wide lens, and they have their different classification, and they go with all still cameras, video cameras, and everything. Which is prime lens, wide angle, telephoto lenses, macro, fisheye, perspective correction lens, we know as a tilt shift lens, and soft focus lens, which generally people do not use. Maybe sometimes people use mesh to create a very dreamy and a blurry effect. So either they use a soft focus lens or they use a mesh on the lens itself. Standard lens can be 50 mm and 35, which also comes in a category of prime lenses which have fixed focal, can be 25, 35, 50, 75. If we go further down, we have macro lenses. We have specific lenses we shoot fashion with, 75 mm.
MM stand for in these lenses? 50 mm, 70 mm?
It's the focal distance. So let's say 50 mm will give me, majorly we use 50 mm to shoot portrait, fashion, or documenting a art. Like documentary photographers, they usually do not carry a whole bag of camera lenses. They just carry 50 mm majorly or 35 mm. If they, because 35 mm is also a very great lens which people generally do not get hand of these days, I believe. Like we talk about 50 mm, it's a fixed focal and used widely, but I believe 35 mm is even more great if they
tell me, how aperture and depth of fields are related?
Aperture and depth of field. Okay, so depth of field is basically okay, aperture. Yeah, okay. So I guess I have something on that as well. Not right now. Okay, so we all know aperture is a circle, and the more we open, it allows the light to be in, and shutter controls the whole story of exposure and with the combination with aperture. Okay, so small aperture and a bigger aperture. Let's say we are shooting a portrait and it's a very crowded or a muddy and there's not much to do with the background. So maybe we will not use an aperture.
If we increase aperture, depth of field will increase or decrease?
If we increase the aperture 18 or
suppose
it is 2.
the size, I'm talking about the opening. Suppose the aperture size is 3.5 or 5.6.
Yeah. So the background will be a little blurred.
So what is that? Shallow depth of field or good depth of field?
It's shallow.
What is the relation? Is it directly proportional or inversely proportional?
It's inversely proportional.
Okay, we get it.
With the same lens?
Yeah.
Okay. So then we have wide angles we majorly use for architectures and to, basically for architectures and to, just in case we are shooting some indoor interior and we do not have space, and with the same lens we can have our panoramas. But what matters more is if we shoot horizontal panoramas and vertical panoramas, the edges will start to distort, so which is recommended to shoot a vertical frame, not a horizontal frame.
I suppose you have to give some assignment to the students related to photography. Can you suggest some assignments which they can do it by self and they can learn also?
Okay, to start with, how I have practiced it over the time, to start with, I give them an assignment to just go look for the alphabets in the nature. Let's say maybe a tree is making a Y or a T or a W or anything. Maybe a football, if you just throw in the air. So for some it will make an O, for some it will make an I if the person is standing right under the ball. So some sort of activities where they just go and observe. So the first assignment, I believe, either I give off the storytelling or the the visual, anything that has to do with their visual impact. So alphabets, then maybe a color scheme or maybe a story. Can be just about the shapes. Go shoot the organic shapes, or maybe just go shoot the non-organic shapes. So they can just choose between the leaves, the birds, or anything to anything that has to do with texture or a rope or a wall texture or anything that sorts. Then alphabets is there. Then maybe color scheme we can give. Just shoot anything in one single color family. So maybe there are shades of green. So maybe there's a green robe, then there are green clothes hanging on it, or maybe there's a green clip. So they will learn to create a color scheme. Even if it is not there, sometimes in the first assignment we will not give them an opportunity to play with themselves color.
If I ask you to give them some assignment related to journalism, because we are running journalism school, so do you have any assignment in your mind right now?
So storytelling will be a better option for them to start with, because I believe once the vision is developed, only then they can have an idea about what is happening and what is not. So once they know, okay, there's a boy sitting on a roadside in a construction area and trying to pick the stones, maybe because his parents work there. So that has a story. But if just they randomly start shooting it from one corner to the other, and it has nothing. Okay, zoom lens we majorly use to shoot something which is far in the distance. And in the same, like I said, modern architecture. In modern architecture also we can maybe use zoom lens, depends on the choice of the photographer and the client, because these days we don't see buildings with a nice surroundings. It's all the buildings are just too tightly intact with each other. So sometimes what we do is we see the outer structure of the building, we try to give a very compact shot which talks about the details of the building. Then telephoto lens we use for wildlife, and maybe if suppose we are shooting fashion, I believe fashion is one thing where we can use all possible lenses, be it wide, be it telephoto, standard lens. Because I remember an example where we were shooting in Jodhpur. So there was a small mountain with a temple, and there was a lake between the ground and the mountain. So if I go down the slope, I cannot shoot with the right perspective. So maybe if I go shoot from a far distance, and that's when it was making more sense, because the eye level maybe needs to be there in certain catalog shoots, which is not very much there in the when we are on a slope. Then we have a macro lens. Majorly we use for product shots, or maybe if somebody's too much into the those insect photography or birds, depends, because a lot of nature photographers, when they find a new species or anything, they keep them with themselves for an observation. So they create a setup which is just complete white and with a slight light, so that they can have a very macro shot of that creature or an insect or an animal to show more details and activity of the particular thing. Or maybe we can shoot jewelry, small products, splash shots, food. I believe majorly instead of 50 mm they should explore macro, because it gives more details and it's more appealing. In when you create a whole setup, let's say we're doing a food shot, and then there's a plating and then there's a side dressing which people do. So if you visually try to understand, just for an example, just visualize food plating, and there is a decoration on the side also. Sometimes they keep chopped spring onion or maybe some chilies or something. So if we visually try to just see the plate, we stop there for a few seconds and then we just move further. But if we see the whole image with the side dressing itself, our eyes maybe stop for 7 seconds to 10 seconds. Okay, we are going there, then we are going back to the dressing, then we are going to the plate, back to the dressing. So styling is also very important. People say journalism is not about styling, but it is about the timing. Because there you cannot create anything all by yourself and call it a journalism. You have to wait for that particular moment and let things happen. So maybe I have a shot. I'll just show you. So this, it's a complete garbage waste area, and then if we click picture without this kid, it will not have anything to do, it will not be appealing. And at the same time, if I take a picture of this kid sitting there, again it will be very basic mainstream picture, not much appealing. Then there were few kids playing around this area, and then the photographer needs to wait for that particular moment so that his picture speaks. And that storytelling which I spoke in the very beginning, that needs to be there, the vision needs to be there, so that he's able to create something that makes sense by the end of that whole picture in a shot.
Do you have some of your work right now?
I have it in the mail, not much with me right now. Just a second. This is for one of the spa in Noida I did. This is basic practice shot. This is again for the same product place. So watch photography, it's a topic in itself for a photography. If you learn watch photography, you're there. This is for Lutens in CP.
Okay, come back to the lenses and we conclude.
Okay, so last is tilt shift lens, which is also a perspective correction lens. So if we remember back in time, there used to be the box cameras. So it used to allow us 32 different motion. We used to tilt up, tilt down, left, right, forward and back, and slightly up and down. So that used to give us little space. So there are times when we are shooting in a building, so we do not have much space either to go back or to play around the camera horizontally or vertically. There is some part of the building where we have a lot of maybe foreground and maybe the top of the building is just chopping off. So we have two options in that case. So in case we have a tilt shift lens, we can shift it upward and have a little lesser of the foreground area and can include the top bit. Or if that is possible, people generally what they do is they try to elevate themselves, so they have same sort of the ground area, and the building is also covered with little bit of the sky and the surroundings. So right now what the basically the lenses we have in the market, the tilt shift, they allow us only 4 motions, like up and down, left, right. So this is an example. If we shoot with from the 18mm lens, 24mm, 35, 55, 70. So the basically 80mm will give us just not even a very rough idea about what exactly the place is. If we see in the first picture, maybe just a road and a park and we don't know what is happening in the back. But if we see in the 200mm lens, which is a zoom lens, telephoto lens, we can see, okay, there are ship there. So it depends on the requirement, okay, what the photographer is looking for, what he wants to shoot. He needs to have the lenses based on their personal requirements. It cannot be if you want to shoot wildlife, you just go with a 50mm or a wide angle lens. The person needs to have a telephoto. So similarly with the architecture and food and maybe fashion, I believe can be done on any lens, because I've personally practiced the wide angle telephoto 50. I've done it with macro lens also, because Nikon 105 provides you that sort of flexibility. You can shoot a model with a distance where you actually want, where the client requirement is show me the garment also, show me the face also, I want to little bit highlight the jewelry as well. So those multiple requirements, I believe 105 solves better.